Good evening and welcome to Crafting by Moonlight. This evening I'm going to do a quick tutorial. It is very easy for the first couple of parts, but it is very complicated to master. So you will be able to create one of these by the end of the video, but understand that it takes a little while to master it. It actually took me a couple of years doing this to get as fast as I am. What we're making this evening are hearts, and as you can see, they're even little, like, not really baskets, but they kind of are because they're woven. And you can put things like branches, conversational hearts, and you can even put a little valentine in them. This is a really great craft to do with children, but for the little kids, you want to go ahead and cut everything, pre-cut everything, and then maybe let them do the cutting of the edges, and I'll get to that later. But this is also a great craft if you're a teenager and would like to do something a little bit special for your friends, or like I said, something at the office for your coworkers. Let's get started. So the first thing that I recommend is that you get yourself some cardstock. 2 different shades would be lovely. So as you can see here, I have already 1/2 cut out, and then I've got a full sheet, so I can show you what we're going to do. So this one we're going to go ahead and put to the side. We are going to get our paper cutter, and as you can see, I'm using a Fiskars, and what you want to do is get one that has an arm that comes out. That's a real good decision. This is definitely worth an investment. It was about $20 or so, but definitely worth it. So what I'm going to do is, because this paper is actually 8.5 by 11, 11 long. So what we're going to do is cut this exactly in, well, we're going to cut it in 2 different sections, and you're going to have some leftover stuff later. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get our paper set up, and we're going to measure it to 4. So let me angle the camera down a little bit. So you can't really see it up there. You can't see the numbers up there. But where the arm comes out at is actually at the 4 here. So what I'm going to do is line it up there, and that's 4 inches. We're going to go ahead and run it up the side. And you actually have enough to make a second one, and then something that I'm going to save for later, which are bookmarks, which will come later. So 4, and then we're actually, this one we need to do at 3. So I do apologize. You want to make it at 3, not 4. That was the old way, and I found out I wound up cutting up too much anyways. So you want to do it at 3. So 3 inches wide, and you want it 11 inches long. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to put this off to the side because we are going to need it again. So I'm going to put it down beside me. We have our piece here, and what we're going to do is, you can't really see this, but all my cutters make like a seam here. So what I want to show you is a neat little trick I picked up. An emery board, a plain regular emery board. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly run the roughest part of the emery board just right over the back and remove these little rough spots. So it kind of files down the rough part because the blade is getting a little dull. So it's a quick trick that you can do, and no one's going to see the inside anyways. So what we're going to do is now we're going to take our 3 by 11 and we're going to fold it directly in half. So I've got it folded in half here, and you want to make sure it's perfectly lined up. This isn't an OCD thing. This is actually, you're going to need that like that. You put a crease in it, or you creased it, but you need to sharpen that crease. So what I do is I take my thumbnail and I run it along, or you can even take a pen or a pair of scissors and flatten it out like that, and that'll give you a much flatter one. Okay, so we've got our first side done. So now what we do need is our cutter again. And actually I've already cut out 2. So what I have done previously was I've already cut them out, or I've cut out 1. So you can't really see it because it's the light, Let's see if I can angle. There. Okay, so you can kind of see the cuts. There are 3 cuts in this. They are each an inch. So 3 inches across, 3 cuts. So this one I have not cut yet. So I'm going to show you what I've done. So we took our 3 by 11 and we folded it in half. So now what I want to do is, because these are actually 1 inch apart spacing, so I'm actually going to turn my cutter and I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to line it up. So what you want to do is line it up. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit and angle up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, there we go. You see the lines here. So what I'm going to do, you want to take your seam side, which if you open it up, it's this side where our crease is, and you're going to line it up. Now you can put it all the way over here, but see there's excess. So what I do is I have a line here that I can see, and then I line it up between these 3 bars. Then what I do is, because you can't, oh, you can see it in the shadow, so you can see that there's a little space between this line here and my paper. And the reason for that is because when I go, let me see if I can shadow that a little bit. There you go. So what's going to happen is that when I make my notches, you want to be able to see these lines here. So we're only making 2 lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pen and just quickly graft it, which you can kind of see right there and right there. So once again, these are all 1 inch apart. And then I'm going to take my Friskars and I'm going to turn it this way. Now, as you can tell, there's actually, oh, let me zoom out. There we go. So at the top here and then at the bottom, it's the same row of numbers. This is where the arm extends out. So the great thing about this is that not only can I use these, which are 1 inch apart, and then 1/2 inches in between, which is really great. You can also use the top and the bottom. So what I'm going to do is focus on this right now. Right down here, there's also another ruler that runs all the way up. So I'm going to go up to my 3 1/4, and I'm going to put my blade right there. So this is kind of the tricky part. So we're going to take the fold where our notches are, and we're going to place it down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this up because this slides. So we want it all the way up, and we're going to lift it with my thumb, and I'm going to line up my mark with my blade in the middle. Once my mark is lined up, so as you can see, I still have my thumb open to it, so if I need to wiggle this paper around, I can. Once my line is lined up, I'm going to push down here because that's going to insert the blade, and I'm going to slide it down. If you can slide it back up without recutting it, great. If not, don't worry about it. You can always lift it and slide it. So then I'm going to go to my next mark. I'm going to angle it. So once again, this is 3 1/4 inch up from your 0. I'm going to push down again and slide it down. So now I've got my three little separations. So now we're done with this, and now comes the tricky part. So you have both your sides, and I really wanted to get a GoPro to do this with, but unfortunately I can't. So I'm going to do it the way I normally do it, and I'm going to try to do it facing the camera and away from me, but it's relatively simple. You can do it like this, or you can introvert them this way. When I normally do them, I do them from this angle, which you can't see because you're on the other side. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to angle it this way. It is relatively simple, but like I said, you've got to have patience. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 first columns that are right next to each other, and I'm going to slip this dark blue into what looks like white, but it's actually light blue. and I'm going to make it come out the other side. So what I've done is open this up inside and slip the whole thing through. Okay? So then what I'm going to do is I've got to angle it up. In your case, I'm angling it down, but I'm going to angle it up so that I can open up this dark blue. If you can get your nail on the other side so that this side's free, that's great. So I'm going to open this up a little bit so I can now slip this light blue inside. So I'm basically weaving, which is good. It's good. It's just time consuming. Now I'm going to open up this side. You want to open it up from this end, and we're going to slip the dark blue right back in. Okay? So this is where the tricky part comes, because you have to kind of have it all the way in. Now it's going to get trickier. We want to slide this all the way back, but at the moment we really can't. So what we want to do is leave enough space for our second column to go in, because now we have to reverse this. So we had light blue, dark blue, light blue. Now we're going to do dark blue, light blue, dark blue. So we're going to open up our dark blue, and you will tend to rip a few. So once again, patience is key. So we're going to try to bring this around and slip this through that first column again. This time we're going to put the light blue into the dark blue, but then we have to try to open up the light blue to slip in the dark blue and then shove this one over without ripping the top. It takes a lot of practice, but once you've done it a few times, especially when you've had 30 kids in a class, you'll be able to do this very quickly. I can make one of these start to finish in 5 minutes. For those of you that are not comfortable but really would like to do this, I do sell these on my Etsy site, and we'll get to that later. So we're going to go ahead and shimmy this down a little bit. Now, as you can see, this is still sticking out, and we need to insert our light blue into our dark blue. So we're going to do that right now, but it's going to be a little tricky. So I want to open up my dark blue inside here and make that little pocket. Now, what I like to do is kind of balloon it like that to kind of back to get it inside like this, because if you fold it like that, you kind of tend to crease it and it causes problems. So I want to balloon this, try to start angling it in, and then you have to be patient, just try to work it out. And once you get that little bit sticking out there, you want to try to shove that over and grab it and pull it through. So now that I've gotten 2 down, I've got 1 more to go, but since it's the end, it's pretty easy for the most part. Now, if you reverse the pattern and you do dark blue and light blue, or dark blue here and light blue in the middle, your end will be a little bit easier, because you just have to slide the 2 on. You just have to put it in the middle. But I kind of opted for the hard way, and I do apologize, but we'll work through this. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up. And remember, I told you don't fold it. I really meant that. But in this case, because I did the hard side first, we are going to have to fold it and kind of bend it a little bit, but try not to crease it. And we're going to stick it right in through there. And then, like I said, once you get that little tab, that little tongue, pull gently, or else you will rip. Okay, so now, like I said, very easy. You just slip it over. Very, very slight, not as complicated. Okay, so now comes the tuck. So once you tuck it, try to work it through. Pull this up here and slip it through. Now that I've got it all in, you just kind of go like this, and it'll kind of even out a little bit. And there's the basis for our weave. Now all we have to do is cut the tops. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can take something like this, which isn't big enough, but you could use something like this, or the top, of the lid to give you that round circle, or you can freehand it like I usually do. And it does make them unique because sometimes they're not always even. You want to start with this side. And what you want to do is start from the outside and rotate in. And when you rotate, you got to remember, we don't want to leave any sharp corners or edges on this. We want to make it look as natural as possible. And then we're going to do this side. So once again, we're going to start with the outside. So you want to flip it to the back. And how you can tell this is the back side is, see right there where it kind of looks like it's popping up? Right there in the seams? That's because that's the interior cut. So when we cut it, the blade, this is the back side of the paper. So when you make these, what I like to do, because once again, I'm a perfectionist that way, is I like to make sure all my inseams are on the same side. So when you flip this over, it looks very clean cut. You don't have any of that bulge, which is really great. So back to what I was doing. So we're going to cut from the outside in. That way also you can kind of see your heart shape. And then that way if you need to adjust, and you want to try to keep your finger down at the bottom here because it will slide. Every once in a while this will slide because it's two separate sheets of paper. And there you go. Start to finish, you've got it. Please leave a comment or questions in the description or in the comment section below. I will also post the Etsy site if you want it. If not, I have every confidence that you can do it on your own. And then that's it. Once you've done a few of these, you will have no problem doing 30 of them for your child's class. My name is Alice. This is Crafting by Moonlight. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.